Thank you for viewing this RFID Community Connect video from AIM. AIM is an industry association for automatic identification technologies. It's not only RFID, but barcoding, IoT, or any other technologies that automatically identify and capture data. If you want to learn more about AIM, go to aimglobal.org or reach out to us to set up a one-on-one call where we can tell you a little bit more about how AIM can benefit your business.
Hey everyone, and welcome to day one of RFID Community Connect. I'm Mike Allen, the Business Development Director of AIM, and I'm pleased to have you here for day one of this two-day event, which will be exploring the latest in RFID from implementations to standardization. There will be so much covered over the next 2 days. But before we get started, there are a few notes I would like to go over with you all. First, I want to thank our sponsors who made this event possible. HANA, Metalcraft, Zebra, Aware Innovations, TSC, the University of Memphis, Avery Dennison, Sonaria, Alton Tag, AsReader, Vista IT Systems, Blue Star, Arcadian, Pragmatic, and Quartz. You can learn more about their RFID solutions in our pre-event media guide, which was sent out to all attendees. If you do not have that, there will be a link in the chat in a little bit to download that document. We'll also include additional information from these great sponsors in our post-event materials, so be on the lookout for that. Some housekeeping notes: since we do have a very tight agenda today, we will be leaving time for only a few questions per session. We do welcome as many questions as possible, so please send those via the Q&A button located at the bottom of your application screen. Questions that are not initially answered today will be answered as part of our post-event materials. Also, recordings for many of our presentations will be available as part of our post-event materials as well. I want to now real briefly tell you about AIM's antitrust policy. It's the policy of AIM to conduct its operations in strict compliance with the antitrust laws. No AIM activities shall create even the appearance of a violation of the letter or spirit of those antitrust laws. And for those unfamiliar with AIM, first off, thank you for being here today. AIM is an industry association for all automatic identification and data capture technologies. Today's sessions will highlight AIM's 4 pillars, as we will be advocating for the effective uses of RFID, highlighting our community with this exciting web event, allowing for post-presentation networking between our speakers, sponsors, and the audience. And also, you will see throughout the 2 days the key RFID standards in play. AIM does this type of work all year, so be part of our active work groups like our RFID and visibility groups, which help drive education and standardization around many of the topics discussed today. We have several other work groups and projects around not just RFID, but all data capture technologies, so reach out anytime to learn more about our work. And then real quickly, I have today's agenda up on the screen. We have exciting sessions around standards, the tire industry, the digital product passport, RFID and food. And to close things out, we will be having an interesting conversation on RFID integration. So let's get the day started with our keynote. We lead things off with the president of the RFID Professional Institute, Mark Roberti. Mark has written about hundreds of RFID deployments and accumulated a vast knowledge of what works, what does not, and the reasons why. Mark has created RFID best practices and has unique perspectives on how RFID can be used in different industries. Today, Mark will talk about the state of RFID. So Mark, welcome. Let's get things going.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you for inviting me. And folks, thank you for joining us. It's great to be here, and appreciate AIM putting on this event. So just a little bit of background about me. As Michael said, I've been in the RFID industry for 25 years. I started RFID Journal in 2001. I sold RFID Journal in 2016 and ran it for 5 years for Emerald Exhibitions, which purchased it. And then after that, I set up RFID Strategies as a consulting business, helping both end users figure out strategies for deploying RFID and also helping companies market their RFID products. I also am the president of the RFID Professional Institute, which was founded in 2012 to create or to foster professionalism in the RFID industry by creating standardized certification exams. And so we've been working on that. I've been trying to develop some training materials for the exams, and very pleased about that. If you're interested in getting training, the IEEE event being held next month in Santa Fe will have RFID for you training for the certification exam. So you're welcome to sign up for that. So I've been asked to talk about the trends in the RFID industry, and I think the trends are all positive. Um, I spent a little time to summarize the high-level findings of all of the major market research companies, IDTechX, and some of the other ones. And if you summarize them all, you get revenue of about 16.25 billion for all RFID products and services in 2025. And projecting ahead, they're looking at about a 10.7 on average, 10.7% compound annual growth, and the industry's forecast to reach about 30 to 37 billion by 2030. So everything is continuing on the upward trend that we've seen for the last few years. If you look at the markets, the market research reports, they report the size of the market in each, or the percentage that each region has slightly differently. This chart shows Fortune Business Intelligence, their percentages: North America 37%, Asia Pacific 24%, Europe slightly behind that at 23%, and Middle East and Africa and LATAM combined with about 16%. Some of the other research firms have North America a little smaller, Asia Pacific a little bigger. It's a little difficult to tell exactly, but I think these numbers are fairly close. And we're seeing, different drivers in different sectors. So in North America, the DSCSA pharma mandates are, encouraging pharma companies to adopt RFID. In Asia Pacific, you have India's fast tag toll program, adding more than 60 million tags in the next 18 months. In Europe, the Falsified Medicine Directive and Digital Product Passport regulations are driving growth. So you see different drivers across the region. It is worth noting that Asia Pacific, according to most of the firms, is growing a bit faster than North America and Europe, but not a huge difference there. If we break down the industry by product, and this chart comes from IDTechX, passive tags are expected to grow from about 8.4 million. Actually, they have the market shrinking, or the value shrinking, not the volume shrinking. But given prices coming down for tags, they're projecting that the total value of sales will go from about 8.4 to 7.88 billion in 2030. Passive interrogators growing from about 3 billion to 3.5 billion. Services seeing probably the most growth, 3.8, software and services, 3.8 billion up to 5.87. And total growth growing from about 15.6 to 17.8. Active RFID and RTLS systems growing slightly, but still far behind passive systems. If we break down the market by which industries are adopting RFID, financial services, according to IDTechX, is number one. Financial services and security, and that's mostly HF technology. So financial services, you have credit cards, ticketing, and so on that have HF transponders in them, and security mainly being access control, which again is HF. Retail clearly number two with 2 billion and 23% of the market. I think what's interesting about this chart is if you take away financial and security and animals and farming, which again is a lot of HF for animal tags, then the retail sector grows to about 50% of the entire market. So retail continues to lead in RFID adoption, and other industries are lagging further behind. Although I think, as we'll see as my presentation goes on, that we're going to see some changes in that in the coming years as other industries begin to adopt the technology more aggressively. All industries are currently adopting RFID, but more aggressively among some of the other industries. Most of you on the call, I'm sure, are familiar with the main applications of RFID. So retail and apparel, again, driving the market. Companies looking to increase on-shelf availability and inventory accuracy. I think there's not any slowdown in that. I think, if anything, we're seeing those applications speed up, and I think we'll see more anti-theft efforts using RFID as people expand to tag all their products in the store. They'll start using more and more security applications to reduce theft and diversion. Healthcare has been growing aggressively. About 14.7 billion is the market's expected to be by 2030, which is almost 18% compound annual growth, much higher than the all sectors combined. And according to Grandview Research, which this page is based on, about 40% of hospitals are currently using RFID technology. And again, expired drugs, tracking drugs with either passive HF or UHF, and then better asset tracking with active RFID and real-time location systems. So good growth in the healthcare industry. Logistics and supply chain is definitely a huge opportunity, and I think we'll see a lot of growth due to AI optimized routing and AI optimized inventory. So I think there's lots of opportunity to combine AI with RFID, but I think in logistics it's particularly attractive given the complexity of routing and making sure goods get to the right place at the right time. So I think we'll see a lot of growth there in the coming years. And manufacturing, we're seeing RFID embedded into manufacturing and execution software systems for work and process tracking, quality control, and compliance, and also move towards some active RFID implementations. Grandview is projecting 12.5% compound annual growth, largely driven by data centers and factory floor use cases. Okay. Some of the trends that I think will drive the next wave of RFID adoption and innovation, obviously AI and RFID convergence are big. So AI is going to help transform raw tag reads into things like predictive maintenance, automated restocking, and anomaly detection. So I think you'll see more and more of that going on. I just was contacted by a researcher at a university in Europe who wants to discuss AI and RFID, and I think a lot of companies are thinking about how AI can make sense of the massive amounts of data that RFID can generate. RFID obviously is another key part of IoT integration. So more use of RFID in the cold chain and in smart factories and real-time location systems. So I think we're going to continue to see that trend. Identifying the object is sort of the bottom, the low-hanging fruit, and then starting to get some intelligence about the state of that object. I think more and more companies are getting to that point where they have the identity, they know where the product is or the asset is, and now they want to know what's the condition of the asset, too hot, too cold, what do I need to do to make sure that my supply chain is optimized. And then advances in the UHF RFID protocol is going to help drive market share and boost adoption rates. We're seeing improved read accuracy in dense reader environments with the new protocol. And I think that we're going to continue to see innovation around producing lower priced tags, which opens up more and more of the market. So I think we're going to continue to see tremendous growth in the UHF RAIN RFID market. Blockchain has been around a long time. It continues to be a driver of the RFID industry, and obviously sustainability is a huge opportunity. We have more and more paper-based tags and ecological packaging solutions that are gaining traction with ESG mandates. So a lot of good things happening there. And then cloud and edge analytics will continue to grow. Okay. Some big news stories. I won't go into too much depth here. Everybody's heard about the UPS rollout, $100 million investment. This is big news and will encourage more companies to deploy RFID in similar applications. Again, Walmart rolling out RFID to fresh categories will encourage more use of RFID in those categories. So I think proving that business case and seeing an ROI there will encourage others to adopt. Michelin embedding tags in all passenger car tires, another huge expansion of RFID into another sector. And of course, Qualcomm adding UHF to smartphone chips will put UHF RFID in the hands of consumers in addition to HF/NFC technology. Next slide. There are some headwinds that could slow adoption. Cost has always been an issue. A lot of companies just look at the cost of the tag and immediately go negative on RFID. We all know that the ROI usually overcomes the cost of the tag many times over, but it's still an issue, and complexity is also another issue that continues to inhibit adoption. RFID is a lot more complicated to deploy than other technologies. It doesn't just involve installing some software on a server somewhere. We got to put tags on items. We got to put readers in stores and in locations, and that creates a lot of complexity. And then competition for dollars. The AI investment in 2026 is supposed to be about $540 billion, and that's expected to grow to 1.6 trillion in 2030, which means that there's going to be tremendous competition for dollars to invest in different IT projects. And a lot of those dollars obviously are going to AI, which means there may be less money for RFID, which could inhibit adoption or keep the rate slower than we would like to see. And lastly, content. So, there's now no major RFID conference and exhibition in the United States to highlight RFID deployments, and there's less news being written about new RFID deployments, less coverage, as RFID Journal has struggled a little bit in the last few years. So I think spreading the word and getting those use cases out is going to be a little bit more challenging than it has been in the past, and that could also have a negative impact on growth. And the last slide. Okay, so just to summarize, I think we're going to see a lot of regulation driving adoption. Again, the FDA's DSCSA and the EU Digital Product Passport mandates, those things are going to increase demand for RFID in 2026 and beyond. In 2027, we're going to see more AI native RFID platforms and predictive reordering, predictive maintenance, and so on. So lots of great applications coming down the pike. And then prediction is that Asia Pacific is going to grow faster than North America and eventually by 2028 overtake in terms of total share of the RFID market. And finally, by 2030, we're probably going to see RFID fused with 5G and IoT to create hyper-connected supply chains, smart fabrics, more wearables, autonomous fulfillment centers, and so on. So lots of exciting things on the horizon for the RFID industry. And I'm happy to take some questions if we have time for questions.
Thank you again, Mark, for that. Really appreciate that. And I do apologize for my computer acting up here. Hopefully that does not continue. But one question, Mark, that we did get, you sort of answered it, I think, just a second ago, but they're wondering geographically where you're seeing the most aggressive implementations of RFID, where it's growing the most and where you're seeing the most basically innovation.
Well, I think Asia Pacific's growing rapidly. It's not necessarily due to innovation and innovative uses, but ticketing. So all the trains in China use RFID enabled ticketing. Hong Kong's got the octopus card. There's lots of those kinds of applications in Asia that I think are driving the market and the volumes. But I still think that in North America, you're seeing the innovative uses of RFID, and I think North America is going to drive the AI fusion with RFID to create some really exciting new applications that I think are going to transform supply chain and inventory management.
And then when or do you see HF, NFC, and UHF in a cell phone or a portable data capture?
Well, we have HF/NFC in phones now. I think it will take time before all the all the phone set manufacturers start embedding UHF RFID, RAIN RFID. I think that will happen, but just as it took time with NFC, it'll take some time with UHF. I do think we're going to see it more in handheld devices natively. So I think the first thing will be every handheld computer barcode scanner will add RFID because it's going to be in the chip. So we'll just naturally it makes perfect sense to be in those devices. And then from there, I think it will spread into the consumer phones and consumer applications.
Hey, great. I do see we have several other questions. We will get to those for the post event, but we are going to be moving on to our next session. Mark, thank you again for keynoting this, for all the great information, and we look forward to talking with you more here in the next several years as RFID continues to grow.
Okay, thanks, Michael.